She said I was unfit to be a parent, while hiding pills in her purse. My ex-wife fought for custody like her life depended on it. She painted me as neglectful, irresponsible, dangerous. She had witnesses. She had stories. She had a lawyer who made me look like a monster in a suit. But what she didn't know was that I'd been watching, and I'd been waiting. I met Sarah in college. She was studying psychology, and I was convinced she could read my mind. Maybe that should have been my first warning. She had this way of making me feel like I was always catching up to her intelligence, like I was lucky she chose me. When we got married, I thought I'd won the lottery. Beautiful wife, steady job, and eventually, Emma. Emma changed everything for me. The moment I held her, I understood what people meant when they said love at first sight. This tiny person who looked like a perfect mix of both of us. She became my world. Sarah seemed different after Emma was born. Distant. Like motherhood was something she was performing rather than living. She'd hand Emma to me the moment I walked through the door. "Your turn," she'd say, already walking away. I didn't mind. I loved bedtime stories, weekend park trips, teaching Emma to ride her bike. But I started noticing Sarah's mood swings, the way she'd snap at Emma over nothing, then disappear into the bathroom for 20 minutes. "Just tired," she'd say when I asked. "You wouldn't understand." She was right. I didn't understand. Not yet. The fight started when Emma turned 4. Sarah would explode over dishes, over money, over the way I folded laundry. Then she'd disappear for hours, coming back calm and detached, like someone had hit a reset button. "I need space," she announced one Tuesday morning. "This isn't working." I thought she meant us. I didn't realize she meant Emma, too. The divorce papers arrived while I was at work. My secretary handed them to me like they were just another contract to review. But when I opened them and saw the custody petition, that's when I knew this wasn't going to be civilized. Sarah wanted full custody. She was claiming I was emotionally unavailable, that I worked too much, that Emma needed stability. She painted a picture of me as an absent father who treated parenting like a hobby. None of it was true. But truth doesn't always matter in family court. I hired the best attorney I could afford. Margaret Chen had been practicing family law for 15 years, and she didn't sugarcoat anything. "Sarah's playing hardball," she told me during our first meeting. "She's claiming you prioritize work over family. We need to prove that's not true." I started documenting everything. Every school pickup, every doctor's appointment, every bedtime story. I had Emma 2 nights a week and every other weekend, and I made sure those moments counted. Emma would curl up next to me on the couch, her small hand in mine. "Daddy, why can't I live with you all the time?" How do you explain to a 5-year-old that sometimes adults make things complicated? That sometimes love isn't enough? "We're working on it, sweetheart," I'd say. "But no matter what happens, I'll always be your dad." I threw myself into being the father Sarah claimed I wasn't. I learned to braid hair from YouTube videos. I memorized the names of every character in Emma's favorite shows. I became a regular at the playground, the library, the ice cream shop. Other parents started recognizing me. "You're Emma's dad, right? She talks about you all the time." That gave me hope. Maybe the judge would see what everyone else could see. Maybe Emma's voice would matter, but Sarah was building her case too. She had Emma's teachers write statements about missed school events. She documented every time I was 5 minutes late for pickup. She made my love for my daughter look like neglect. "She's thorough," Margaret admitted after reviewing Sarah's filings. But something feels off about this. The level of detail, the timing. It's like she's been planning this for months. I started paying closer attention during our custody exchanges. Sarah would seem fine when she dropped Emma off, but when she picked her up, she'd be different. Sharper. More focused. Like she'd taken something to help her deal with the stress. That's when I noticed the prescription bottles in her purse. She was never careless with her bag. But one evening, when she was arguing with me about Emma's bedtime schedule, her purse fell over. Pills scattered across my kitchen floor. Oxycodone, Adderall, Xanax. All different doctors, all different dates. "Those are for my anxiety," she said, shoving them back into the bottle. You know how stressful this has been. But I'd counted. There were way too many for someone taking them as prescribed. The custody hearing was scheduled for a Tuesday morning in October. Sarah arrived with her lawyer and 2 witnesses. Her sister Monica, who was going to testify about my anger issues, and her friend Jessica, who apparently had stories about my drinking problem. I sat next to Margaret, watching Sarah take notes with perfectly manicured nails. She looked composed, professional, like someone who had her life together, like someone who deserved to raise our daughter. Your Honor, Sarah's lawyer began, my client is seeking full custody because she believes it's in the child's best interest. Mr. Johnson has shown a pattern of prioritizing his career over his parental responsibilities. They called Monica first. She sat in the witness chair like she was doing her civic duty, describing how I'd raised my voice during family gatherings, how I'd seemed overwhelmed when caring for Emma. He doesn't have that natural parenting instinct, Monica said, looking directly at the judge. Sarah does. She's always been the primary caregiver. Jessica was worse. She talked about seeing me at restaurants with coworkers while Sarah was home with Emma, about how I'd dismissed Sarah's concerns about Emma's behavior. Sarah would call me crying, Jessica testified. She was doing everything alone while he was building his career. I wanted to stand up and scream. I wanted to tell them about the nights I stayed up with Emma when she had nightmares, about the weekend trips to the zoo, just the 2 of us, about the way Emma's face lit up when I walked into her school for lunch. But that's not how court works. You sit, you listen, you wait your turn. When it was my turn, I talked about being present, about learning to do Emma's hair, about knowing her favorite books by heart, about the way she laughed when I did silly voices during story time. Your Honor, I said, my daughter is the most important thing in my life. I may not be perfect, but I love her completely. Sarah's lawyer cross-examined me like I was a criminal. Every work trip became abandonment. Every missed school event became neglect. Every moment I'd struggled to balance work and parenting became evidence that I was unfit. Mr. Johnson, he said, isn't it true that you often work late into the evening? Sometimes, I admitted, but I always make time for Emma. And isn't it true that you've missed several of Emma's school performances? A few, but I've attended most of them. Most, not all. That's when Sarah took the stand. She was perfect. Calm, articulate, devastating. She talked about sacrificing her career to be a stay-at-home mom, about how Emma needed consistency and stability. I've been Emma's primary caregiver since birth, she said, her voice breaking just slightly. I know her routines, her fears, her dreams. I know what she needs. She talked about my anger during our marriage, about how I'd withdraw when things got difficult. She made our divorce sound like an escape from emotional abuse. Emma needs peace, Sarah said, looking directly at me. She needs a home where she feels safe. I watched the judge taking notes. I watched the court reporter typing every word. I watched my ex-wife destroy my character with surgical precision. And then I watched her step down from the witness stand and walk back to her table, where she immediately reached into her purse. She palmed something small and swallowed it quickly, so quickly that I almost missed it, but I didn't miss it. And neither did Margaret. Did you see that? Margaret whispered. I nodded. She's been doing it for months. The judge called a recess. Sarah's lawyer was confident, shaking hands with witnesses, already talking about next steps. Sarah herself looked relieved, like she'd just passed a difficult test. That's when I made my decision. I need to make a phone call, I told Margaret during the break. To who? Someone who can help us prove what we just saw. I'd been dreading this moment for weeks, but watching Sarah lie under oath, watching her perform the role of concerned mother while hiding her addiction, I realized I couldn't protect her anymore, not when Emma's future was at stake. I called my brother-in-law, David. He was married to Sarah's sister, but he'd seen what I'd seen. The mood swings, the disappearing acts, the way Sarah could go from agitated to calm in minutes. I know this is hard, I said, but I need you to tell the truth about Sarah's prescription problem. There was a long pause. You're sure about this? She's going to win custody, David. And then what happens to Emma? Give me 20 minutes, he said. I'll be there. When court resumed, Margaret stood up. Your Honor, the petitioner would like to call an additional witness. Sarah's lawyer objected immediately. Your Honor, this witness wasn't on the original list. He's providing testimony about information that just came to light, Margaret said calmly. Information that's directly relevant to the child's safety. The judge allowed it. David took the stand, and I could see Sarah's face go pale. Mr. Williams, Margaret began, how long have you known the respondent, Sarah Johnson? About 8 years. She's married to my sister-in-law. And in that time, have you observed anything concerning about her behavior? David glanced at Sarah, then back at Margaret. Yes, she's been taking prescription medication in ways that don't seem medical. Can you be more specific? She takes pills to get through social situations. Multiple pills from different bottles. She's mentioned having several doctors who don't know about each other. Sarah's lawyer was on his feet. Objection. This is hearsay and speculation. Your Honor, Margaret said, I'm establishing a pattern of behavior that directly impacts this child's safety. The judge overruled the objection. David continued. I've seen her take pills before dealing with Emma, before parent-teacher conferences, before family events. She told me once that it was the only way she could handle the stress of being a mother. I watched Sarah's composure crack. She was whispering frantically to her lawyer, shaking her head, but the damage was done. Margaret then presented phone records showing Sarah had contacted multiple doctors for the same conditions. Pharmacy records showing overlapping prescriptions. Photos from social media where Sarah looked altered with Emma visible in the background. Your Honor, Margaret said, we request that the respondent submit to immediate drug testing as part of this custody evaluation. The courtroom went silent. Sarah stood up suddenly, her chair scraping against the floor. This is ridiculous, she said, her voice too loud. I don't have to. Mrs. Johnson, the judge said quietly, please sit down. But Sarah was falling apart. The composed, perfect mother was disappearing in real time. You can't. Emma needs me. I'm her mother. I'm the only one who. She reached for her purse, and that's when everything became clear. Even the judge could see it now. The shaking hands, the dilated pupils, the way she was struggling to form coherent sentences. I'm ordering an immediate recess, the judge announced. Mrs. Johnson, you will submit to drug testing within the hour. This hearing will resume pending those results. Sarah's sister Monica was crying. Her lawyer was packing up his files with obvious frustration. And Sarah herself was standing in the middle of the courtroom, looking like someone who'd just lost everything, because she had. The drug test came back positive for 3 different substances, none of which she had current prescriptions for. Sarah was arrested that afternoon for prescription fraud and driving under the influence with a minor in the vehicle. I was awarded full custody 2 weeks later. Emma moved in with me permanently, and Sarah entered a court-mandated rehabilitation program. Emma asked me once why Mommy had to go away. I told her that sometimes adults make choices that hurt themselves and the people they love, that Mommy was learning how to make better choices. But she's still my mommy, Emma said. She always will be, I promised. And when she's ready, she'll still be part of your life. Sarah finished rehab 4 months later. She has supervised visitation now 2 hours every Saturday at a family center. Emma looks forward to those visits, and honestly, so do I, because the person who picks up Emma now isn't the same person who fought me in court. She's quieter, more present. She actually listens when Emma talks instead of just waiting for her turn to speak. I'm sorry, she told me after one of the visits. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I'm sorry. I didn't forgive her that day. I'm still not sure I have completely. But I understood something I hadn't before. She wasn't evil. She was drowning, and she was pulling Emma down with her. The custody battle that I thought would destroy my relationship with my daughter actually strengthened it. Emma knows now that I fought for her, that when it mattered most, I chose her safety over keeping the peace. She's 7 now, and she still asks me to do the silly voices when we read together. She still runs to me when she has nightmares. She still tells people that I'm the best dad in the world. Sarah thought she could win by making me look unfit. She thought she could hide behind the image of perfect motherhood while falling apart behind closed doors. But what she never understood was that being a parent isn't about looking perfect. It's about showing up. It's about putting your child's needs before your own pride, your own pain, your own secrets. She fought for our child and lost to her own lies. The truth has a way of surfacing even when we bury it deep. And sometimes the sweetest revenge is simply letting someone face the consequences of their own choices. Emma is safe now. She's thriving. And that's all that ever mattered.